Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special Cantina Conversations. I am the #1 Kylo Ren fanboy, Trask now.
I am the Duel of Fates, Taylor Field.
Yes, we're going to talk about some juicy Star Wars stuff. Hopefully it's all true, because it's never great what you hope. Well, hopefully in the sense of it sucks if you record something and then you come out later, it's not true. But Trevorrow hasn't said anything about this. So remember last time those rumors came out about his script, and he's like, oh, that's not true. He hasn't said that yet, so maybe we're in the clear.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to talk about that. If you like Star Wars, ladies and gentlemen, go back. We've been dropping a bunch of Clone Wars. Clone Wars Season 7. Are you excited, Taylor? It's a month and 2 days away at the time of this recording.
I'm getting more excited every day for it. Yeah. Okay. It's just coming up.
And then we are reviewing the entire series. We're very close. We have about 4 kind of episodes left, but we do like 5 episodes in one. So we got the rest of Season 5 and Season 6 that all be dropping before the revival, and then we'll be reviewing every single episode of Season 7 on Disney Plus. So you want to stay tuned to that. We got some Star Wars poll. Is that officially dropping in February? Officially?
I don't know if it's going to drop like way before Season 7 drops or during or after. It's just going to drop in February.
Well, make sure it at least drops during. I don't think you want to do it after.
No, definitely not.
Well, you did just say you weren't sure before.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And then, we got tons of stuff going on. Tomorrow is the Golden Geeks, the 2019 version. You want to check that out. Go to our Facebook, because a bunch of voting. You can vote for the decade ones. You can vote for the 2019 ones. And then February 7th-ish, we're going to reveal all the winners. So vote, get the fans' choice, and sometimes you help us if there's a tiebreaker. Is there anything else? Birds of Prey is coming up. We're excited for that.
Birds of Prey.
Lots of newscasts, stuff like that. Check out your underwater review.
Yeah, that's struggling underwater review.
It's not struggling.
Well, it's definitely not as high as I thought it was going to be. I thought, it's going to be at least a 5,000.
Fine.
No, I'm kidding.
And then also go to Spreaker, because that is our new hosting site. So we thank everyone there. We've had some nice meetings with those people, so it's going very well. But we're everywhere else still, other than SoundCloud. That's kind of gone now. But iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, Google, the whole shebang. And if you really like what we do, head over to Patreon, because at the end of this month in January, we're doing 6 exclusive Patreon commentary tracks. We're dropping our first one, Suicide Squad in honor of Birds of Prey. Dylan said he saw like 5 minutes of it on TV, and he said he couldn't wait to do the commentary track.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a spicy one. So the $5 tier, you get the exclusive stuff. And if you don't want to do that, if you want to try our Patreon, go over and get the $1 tier, because you get early stuff, and you get every single episode ad-free. It's pretty good. Hey, Taylor Field?
It's absolutely outstanding.
So what could be outstanding or maybe not? So Star Wars episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, just passed 1 billion when we're doing this cast. So Star Wars, isn't dead. And we're going to do that in another cast. We're going to talk about the future Star Wars. But obviously, this has gone through a lot of stuff. And there's been a report that come out from, his name's Robert Meyer Burnett. And I actually listened to him. I've been listening to him since I started listening to podcasts, so like 6 years or whatnot. He's been a filmmaker, he's film producer, he still edits and things like that, so he is source. So what this is, what we're going to talk about, we don't know if it's true or real, but I kind of have faith in this guy. And then there's other podcasters, YouTubers that came out and said this is legit, or I've seen similar things to this. So, and like we were saying, Colin Trevorrow hasn't said anything yet, so this could even be a case of his people planting stuff out there. So I'm going to read off bullet points of what the script is. Taylor's only seen like a few things of the script. And then, so I'm going to ask your opinion at the end of it. But what I'm going to say is, for myself, I think it's, and I'll ask Taylor at the end of this, because this has been the question the whole internet has been going off about, like, is it better than Rise of Skywalker? And there is, from a story plot-to-plot basis, I could say yes, and I actually prefer it. But there's so many things that I want to say before people, because there's so many people that are being like, yeah, this would have been the greatest movie ever. One, when things get filmed, things change all the time. We even know that in the small scale with Gauntlet. We have a plan or do something, things change. And the two biggest things are, one, this script was dated 2016. He got fired a year later in 2017. So obviously tons of stuff would have changed from this script. And this script, this first draft of this, that's what it's kind of rumored that might be the first draft of his episode 9, was before Carrie Fisher passed away as well. So that's one thing I've seen that I think is just unfair. This could be real, and I think there's plot points that do fit and work a bit better, but it's also, this movie that's on paper would not have been the exact movie we would have got, no matter what, even with Carrie Fisher. And then there's also stuff that I'm not a big fan of. So I'm not sure. How should I tackle this? Do you want me to go? What do you think the most juiciest is? Because you're a big Jurassic World fan, right?
I love Jurassic
World.
And
you were not for Colin Trevorrow getting fired. You like JJ, but you wanted to see what Colin could do. So if you're wondering one thing, what Colin would have done, what would that have been? And then I can see like any notes that might relate to that.
One thing?
Well, hang on. Actually, I'll hit you with this. Have you heard of what the title of the movie is going to be?
Duel of Fates.
Duel of Fates. What do you think about that? rumored title again, because that could have easily changed, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, Duel of Fates, like I do love the title. I mean, I kind of prefer Rise of Skywalker because it's very fitting with the whole saga. But Duel of Fates, it just implies that there's going to be some heavy duty conjuncture or something like that.
Conjuncture.
Yeah, conjuncture.
I think it's kind of, you get that prequel love. If it was true, I actually do really like the title, and it's the obvious Duel of the Fates. You have Kylo Ren, Ben Solo going up against Rey, not Skywalker in this one. And this one I'll say, spoilers for Episode 9, the real Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, and spoilers for this movie that's never going to happen.
We're getting into spoiler territory.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen the last Star Wars, check out now. Go check out our review and then come back. In this script, not a Skywalker, so
not a Palpatine
either. So that's the thing is, I like that title for the fanboyism, but I like it because it is relating to the plot. So let's go back to that first question I asked you. What would be the first thing you'd want to know? And maybe you do know it, like something because you've seen some stuff, but is there anything you don't know that you wish? Oh, how would Colin have tackled this?
First thing, well, I mean, it's hard to say because, like, obviously Palpatine wasn't in. Like, I didn't see Palpatine mentioned.
He is in this movie.
Oh, he is.
So let's start with hashtag Kylo Ren #1 fanboy. Let's start with Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren in this movie is primarily the villain and the evil do-gooder, bad doer.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna jump all over the place. I will say this script also ends with him getting redeemed, and
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's so wild. And this is stuff that there's some good ideas in here, but some don't work. This whole script is really like he's evil. He's the main villain. There's no Snoke. There's nothing like that. There is a Sith. Oh boy, I can't wait to I don't even know where to go. So let's just start. I'll start from where we're going to go in order about Kylo Ren because there's so much stuff. So apparently the movie starts with On Our Good Guys, and we'll get into that later. And it's kind of like people are asking where Kylo Ren is between the good guys and the First Order. Hux, which we'll get into. You're going to love. Have you heard about the Hux stuff?
Chancellor Hux?
Have you heard about the other stuff, though? The stuff he was collecting?
No.
Oh, man. So we're going to get into Chancellor Hux. So anyways, everyone's kind of wondering where Kylo Ren is. And apparently he's like looking for a power and everything like this. And there's two things that come into it. I can't remember the other one, but I do remember that. Remember when we did the Clone Wars retro for Mortis, and you're like, oh man, people were talking about with Episode 9. Apparently in this script, again, if it's true, but we're just going to talk about if it's true. In the script, they did go to Mortis. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to bring that up in a second, but they did go to Mortis. So he's kind of on this hunt to find this power, this greater power to become stronger. And he finds a holocron, apparently, that was on Mustafar. He goes to Mustafar. After, I'll break it up and I'll let Taylor give his opinion. He goes to Mustafar. He finds a holocron that has a message from Emperor Palpatine in it to Darth Vader. And he says that if Luke Skywalker is turned, but he strikes me down, you need to take him to, I need to find his name. His Sith master name, of course, it's Toro.
It was a teacher, right?
Yeah, a Sith teacher. Well, yeah, because that's what people because Robert Meyer Burnett, go check out his channel. There's 3 hours worth because he did a part 1 and he did a part 2. At first, when he did his first video, it was like, oh, my master or something like that. So people were like, oh, is this Plagueis? And apparently it's just a teacher. So the way he compared it was like a Yoda-like figure where everyone kind of thinks of Yoda as like their master in a way. So this guy's apparently name was Toro Vellum.
Toro Dalan.
He was a 7,000-year-old Sith teacher or something like that. And apparently the way he's been described is very like Shelob, like alien-esque. Like he was looking very sci-fi, like scary-ish. But the thing was, so Emperor was telling Vader, you got to take him to
Shelob.
Take him to Toro. We'll call him TV, but no, don't do that either because there's so much stuff. So you're gonna take him there, and then what happens is the holocron reads Kylo Ren, and it reads that it's not Vader, so it burns him. It like shoots out this red lightning, and it burns him. So you've heard of all this so far. So what do you think? We'll start about this. What do you think about this? You got Mustafar back, which did happen in Episode 9. They didn't mention it, which is annoying. But you got Mustafar, you got this holocron, and then we'll talk about Toro in a second. But the Emperor, so he was in it, but he had like a cameo. That was the other thing was Mortis. But remember, we did hear, I'm not sure if you did, but I swear we talked about that there was rumors going around that Kylo Ren found a message or recording from Palpatine, because I think we did a Cantina on that. So that's why for me some of this script leak might be real, because we had heard rumors about the Mortis stuff and then about him finding an Emperor like holocron, and that would make sense why this was going on. So what do you think about just this first chunk of
Well,
Ren.
I think there's probably a lot of credibility to it because obviously JJ might have taken a little bit of inspiration from it.
Oh, definitely. There's other things in the script which we'll get to because Colin Trevorrow technically still has a story by credit. There's a scene in the script where Leia calls to Ben the exact same way. So there's definitely some things he kind of kept or changed up. So
yeah, and I really like what I'm seeing. I love the idea of Palpatine leaving a holocron behind, and just to see that on the screen of that whole what if moment of you seeing a holocron of Palpatine talking to Vader saying, if Luke kills me, then you need to do this with him. I think that would just leave everyone in like shock, like, wow, Palpatine and his fucking contingencies. That's what I'm saying.
So that's what I was going to ask you because you've introduced me to this Palpatine and contingencies thing. To me, though, you've always said that I think it was some canon or something like that, #canon.
Oh, yeah.
It explained that even if he lost, even if he died by like natural causes, he wouldn't want anyone running it, like including Vader. So he had contingencies to take it down. So that's one thing. Doesn't this kind of combat that as far as, if I die, go train Luke Skywalker? To me, Palpatine, from what I know, wouldn't be like, if I'm dead, you can carry on the legacy. It would have been like me or bust, right? So
well,
that kind of doesn't.
He wouldn't want Vader taking over the Empire, but he would probably want.
But he's dead at this part because in the script it says the message is Palpatine saying if Skywalker kills me. So
if Skywalker kills me, yeah, he probably he would die, and then he wouldn't want Vader to take over the Empire because he did have contingencies set up where Vader, it would split the Empire in half, and Vader wouldn't be able to probably control all of it. So in
was
this
it a
sense,
power thing, or was it just Vader he had a problem with?
No, in this sense, it was the fact that if the Empire could not properly protect its emperor, then it wasn't worthy enough to continue existing. That's why he set it up so that it would
isn't this
destroy
the same way,
itself.
Though?
It's
this
similar
on him because he brought Luke Skywalker in and it was a
It's
risk
definitely all
taken?
on him. He fucked up.
Yeah.
So
apparently he goes to I didn't write the planet's name down, but it's kind of a Sith-like planet. It sounds pretty much from Robert Meyer Burnett and other people there had talked about. It sounds similar to like an Exegol where there's like statues and creepy Sith stuff going on. So kind of something similar. He finds Torah Vellum, and Torah Vellum is a 7,000-year-old. And that's why I say go to these videos because they actually have like the actual dialogue. I will say as a negative for this movie, especially when we get to the end, the Kylo Ren and stuff and Rey. A thing as far as Colin Trevorrow, I'm a fan of the first Jurassic World, not a fan of the second one. The dialogue is pretty poor in this. So even the exchanges that they have is just like, Toro's like, what are you, like, do you not value something? And Kylo's Ren, like, do you not value your life? And it just,
do you not value your life?
It's something like that. And it's something like, all right. Like, and definitely because Adam Driver's Kylo Ren, it might be better, but on the surface, it's kind of like, not the greatest. So that's why I would say so far what I've seen from the script, the dialogue's not the greatest, but so Torah Vellum is going to teach him this power to suck the life force out of people. So what do you think about that? And this also leads to he's training him, and apparently they like work on this and experiment this on animals and stuff like that, or space animals, and then eventually Kylo Ren takes Toro's force essence and kills him and becomes more powerful. And then here's another big thing for you. Before he kills him, Kylo Ren has this I don't know, I'll reveal this next. Kylo Ren and Toro set up this like almost Dagobah cave thing, and he goes in the cave and he fights Darth Vader, and apparently there is a fight scene with Vision Darth Vader, and Kylo Ren lost that, and that made him realize the reason Vader lost is because he still had love in him. So what happens is he decided to cut himself off from love, and he takes Vader's helmet on Coruscant, which we haven't talked about, but on Coruscant, and he throws out the balcony and it crumbles. So yeah, you heard that. So what do you think about the potential Vader fight scene? What do you think about the Force sucking, which we kind of saw Well, we did see that with Palpatine, right?
He totally did.
Yeah, and then we saw like the Force giving and everything like that. So what do you think about that, like Toro segment? And apparently it was like lots of like, I've been around for this and I'm blah, blah, blah. You know, lots of like exposition of like Sith canon stuff you probably would have loved.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't know about the Dagobah kind of cave scene going on, which sounds Vader, awesome. Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, there'd be some awesome screenshots of Kylo Ren and Vader fighting. Oh, 100%. My God.
Yeah. This is one thing I didn't mention, though, that I'm not sure how you feel about this. Apparently, when he got scarred, he looked like Emperor. So he was like really like Emperor in Revenge of the Sith. So he was really bruised and like really damaged. He had like really purple, veiny scars. And apparently, they like melted Beskar armor on his face.
I read that. Yeah, Mandalorian armor or something like kind of fused to his body and stuff.
I don't like that. I'd have to see it, but I just think that, especially because we talk about Rise of Skywalker, we kind of wish that he had the helmet off more. So I don't know what they mean. Would it be patches of it? Because in the script, it made it sound like it's his whole face. So is it just like Is it just Kylo? Is it just Adam Driver's eyes?
I have an example I can show you.
Okay, so I was not a fan of that. And while he looks it up, the Toro stuff, that sounded all great because I was fine with Palpatine coming back, but this worked a bit for me better. When we talked about Ben being redeemed, I got around to it, and I still liked the Ben Solo stuff. The thing is, the only reason Rise of Skywalker made me like it a bit more is because the Ben Solo stuff was done really well, and I got the Reylo stuff. And the thing is, I'm a big Reylo fan, and I love the kiss, so it made some of it all worth it. But at the end of the day, I would still rather taken him just being the straight villain because I felt like Force Awakens and Last Jedi put him on that path. And again, it's tough because would I take that Ben Solo stuff away? I don't know, because that last part of the movie's great. Mm-hmm. So it's tough. I wish there was maybe like a version of these two scripts put together, but the Beskar armor on him, I don't know.
This is what I kind of like interpreted as.
That's from canon, right? Or something
This
like
isn't
that?
canon. This is from the Old Republic, the online game.
Oh, okay, because apparently there's something in the EU where someone has like some armor melted on him. That could be all right, but I don't know. I think it just constricts him, and that just feels like a toy move. Like we got to get a new Kylo Ren toy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Not a fan of that. But so what do you think about, back to your opinion of, you're talking about Vader, what do you think about this Toro stuff, the life force essence, everything like that?
The Toro stuff sounds absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I would love to have seen 7,000-year-old Sith teacher and just how his influence and such. And
that was the line. Kylo says, "Does the name Plagueis mean anything to you?"
Oh,
and then Toro says, "That name means nothing to me." And then Kylo Ren says, "But does your life mean anything?" And that was like the line. But yeah, so that's where I guess it was to insinuate that Plagueis was not like he was not Plagueis or whatnot. So
I don't know. This sounds like so much more of like
it's very prequel-y.
Prequel-y, a fan service. Like just to have the mention of like Plagueis in this would be awesome. And again, just like earlier, going to Vader's temple and finding this, and then getting Kylo Ren facing Vader and having that life force suction thing to a next level would be fantastic. Yeah, the Shelob, the Toro.
It's literally Toro. Toro Valkan, like that guy. Wait, is it Toro Valkan?
I thought it was Toro Calican.
Toro Calican, you're right. I was gonna say, are they both fees? Oh no, check out our Mandalorian reviews.
But that Toro just sounds absolutely awesome. Just to have a Sith teacher, that would have been so juicy for the Star Wars universe.
He sounds, honestly, Palpatine was hooked up to a machine, but he sounds similar to what they would have done with Palpatine, where he's like looking really dark and stuff. Obviously, they made him look like Palpatine, but so that happened. So here's the other thing that I want to talk about, which this is where I say there's some stuff in the script I don't like, but then there's some stuff in the script that I do love and really like. And this to me felt like an obvious one they set up in Last Jedi, and we had talked about it before as like a prediction or something we really wanted. Luke was Force Ghost haunting him throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had conversations. It was him trying to bring him back to the light side, and they had all these conversations of like, look at where it led you, and the dark side. At one point, he gets to like some tomb, Kylo Ren, and he's like, Luke says to him, the dark side leads to this, nothing but emptiness or stuff like that. So obviously we had talked about that before, and you had Mark Hamill as well on the other side with Rey a lot. So it sounded like his version, which makes sense because Mark Hamill said this a lot, but it sounded like Colin's version had a lot of Trevorrow. So I know you're a fan of it, but are you... I imagine you're like me. You're still bummed out that there was no Luke Kylo stuff, right? Because they set that up, and that to me was especially. I don't get it. In this script, he turns good. In Rise of Skywalker, he turns good. So I don't get why you still wouldn't have Luke there trying. So, yeah.
Well, they built up there's such a huge relationship and dynamic between Luke and Kylo Ren, considering Luke is a huge reason Kylo Ren turned to the dark side.
Master and uncle.
And uncle, yeah. They missed on a huge opportunity of just that Skywalker like discussion and connection and scenes. And I think it would have been so awesome to have Luke literally haunting Kylo Ren.
100%.
Talking and having dialogue.
Trying to get him to the good side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so I'm kind of skipping some stuff, but he finds his way to Mortis. And like I said, that's why I go watch the video. They get into all like the nitty gritty of like little details here and there. But he finds out this power. He goes back and he has some conversation with Hux. Hux and him power struggle as usual. And then so he's going to Mortis. And there's, like I said, there's some events kind of mixed up here and there. He's had conversations with Luke. But then apparently there was written a Han Solo flashback scene in this, and it was him going back. So he's walking up this mountain to Mortis, and he has like this vision, and it's like young Ben Solo in black robes, and apparently he goes home, and Han Solo has some conversation about coming back and everything like that, and he says he won't do it. He's gone, and he says that Leia sent him off, and he doesn't want him home, and Han just wanted him, or tells him that Leia sent him away to become more powerful and learn his powers, and he just says it's too late. So what do you feel like? Obviously not Cam, but what would you felt of some flashback? Because to me, when you watch Force Awakens, did you always feel that the first time on that platform was the first time he had seen Han Solo had seen his son since the turn?
No, because Han Solo looked like he wasn't surprised. It looked like when he was seeing Kylo Ren, walking, carrying Rey.
You
Like
could have heard that
felt
from the grapevine through Luke, though, right? Of because we don't know what's gonna happen in this Kylo Ren comic. We're gonna cover it, but clearly he becomes a Knights Ren. Maybe Luke hears about. So that's why you're right. But he could have easily still just heard about it, right?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I feel like he probably was. He looks like someone who's probably accepted the fact that, okay, some bad things have happened, because he obviously didn't hold any kind of grudge towards Luke. He didn't have any hatred towards anyone. He was just, defeated and trying to cope with everything.
Too much Vader in him.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I feel like a flashback, I could have accepted it,
I the only reason I like it because it kind of sets up what they did in Rise of Skywalker when he says to Rey, like, oh, you can't go back, like I can't go back to about Leia. But the thing is, I think that's the only reason it works. I don't know if we need another scene of him turning down Han Solo, but I think that's in there because of that. So he goes up to Mortis. At this point, we'll get into Rey's story because Rey, has a much different story. They have a big fight, and apparently they've still been kind of force connected. She says to Finn, which I really like. She talked about Finn, which this is one thing I really wanted in Episode 9, was about how she still feels a connection to Kylo Ren, and she has like nightmares about him every night and everything like that. So they're very connected in this fight. It's kind of back and forth, and they keep doing like force, like life sucks out of each other and stuff like that. And then this is what has kind of not been conflicting, but I couldn't tell if it was because the force exchanges she figures this out, or it's something she finds out in the middle script and happens later on. But apparently they made that Kylo Ren killed Rey's parents on the behest of Snoke. What do you think about that?
It just opens up questions like, okay, why did Snoke want Kylo Ren to do that? What was the reasoning behind it?
Apparently there's something to do with, like, it would have made her stronger or something like that. Like, that's what I've heard.
It's, it's weird because then obviously Snoke would have known about her, which I guess is implied in Force Awakens.
Yeah,
so,
what girl? What do you think about the timeline of it, though? Because if her parents got killed when she's, like, 10... And Adam Driver is older than Daisy Ridley, but he's not that much older. So I don't know if the timeline really matches up. And I've been trying to headcanon if maybe he killed them later on. When
it would have
they
to
were
be
older.
later on.
That's what you would think, right? So I would imagine. I was not when I read that, I was not a fan of that. That just feels like a twist for the sake of the twist. Like they have so much history already and so much baggage to be like, oh, and I also killed your parent. Especially because if this script ends with him turning to the light side, if he's full on bad guy and he's turned into like Vader in like at the end of Revenge of the Sith, or like he's on his way to episode like New Hope, like Kylo Ren, then I could see it. But I don't think that's needed in this script because, like you said, there's not a huge reason, and Kylo Ren and her already have a history, so you don't need to like, oh, and guess what I did to your parents.
I think there's probably more on that than we got, because it could be the same, oh, Vader killed your parents or killed your father kind of thing.
But this would be the finale, so there wouldn't be much time to like flesh that out, right? So it's not like we got that in episode 4 and then they fleshed it out, because apparently,
well, we got that in the finale of this anyway, and like Rise of Skywalker, they just said, oh yeah, she's a Palpatine, so they fleshed that out then anyways. So.
Oh yeah, but that's what I'm saying. In this script, they don't flesh it out anymore. Apparently, the only reason that they do it is because we'll get in the Rey's story, but she's again struggling with the light and darkness. And I think it is later. I think I was right on the second time that she finds out earlier in the script that Kylo killed her parents, so that like pushes her dark side, and because he lied to her in Last Jedi, which again, I don't like that either, because I never read it that Kylo Ren was lying in Last Jedi, especially because to me it's supposed to be this really emotional moment. I get it because it's like people say, oh, Siths always try to lie, but to me that was in this moment where he was not fully Sith, he was still a little impartial. So I don't like, one, that he would have been lying, and two, I just don't think it's needed, because what does it do? Her parents are still nobody, they still have nothing to do. Like, it's just, I don't know. He turns good at the end too, so for me, I don't know what it would have done. I don't know how it would have helped. So they have a fight. It's apparently a good fight, blah, 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 which I saw that some people, they were reading the person, Robert, was talking about the script, like, oh, this is a great scene. You don't know. It's like, it can read great, but you never know. But, so, it's apparently some good lightsaber stuff, and apparently he, like, He's fighting her and he blinds her. He like gashes her on her forehead. She's blinded. She's down. He gets up to this thing in Morbius is on the brain.
Morbius.
What's up, Doc? Gets up to this thing to Morbius. There's this temple, like kind of, I don't know, something to open up. Some sort of like treasure's going to be in there, like something Sith or Force oriented. He opens it up and it's empty, and he's mad at all these statues of classic Kylo Ren. He's like slashing them all down.
So you say he blinded, like he took Rey's eyes out?
Well, that's what it sounds like, but then she gets the vision back at the end of the movie. But at this point, she's blind, and because she later on, while he's up there, she like takes like a blindfold, and her eyes are bleeding. They describe it as crying blood, and she like wraps it around her face, so it's kind of like Luke in New Hope when he's blinded and everything like that. So she goes up there. This was a scene I was talking about with bad dialogue. Kylo Ren and Luke have this like last conversation, and he's just like, "You're no Skywalker," and blah blah. And the dialogue's like, to me, it was really cheesy. It was just like, you know, I'm stronger than Skywalker's ever have been. And apparently, I think this is it, because one person said it was in the script, and then one person just didn't mention it. But Kylo Ren like ignites his lightsaber and goes to take a shot at Luke, and Luke just catches it.
Ooh.
I don't like that. If you're a longtime viewer, you know how I feel about Force ghosts like having certain powers, and I don't like that. And then apparently, her and Kylo Ren fight. Kylo Ren again gets the better of her. And then he starts to like suck her life force, and he realizes, or he says in his dialogue, that whatever she has is more powerful than what Mortis possesses. At this moment, when he's like taking Rey away or doing this, Luke, either before or after, it's kind of like there's so many notes, but it's kind of in the middle that Luke is saying that, you know, we're all connected by the Force, we're not alone. So you have Leia talking to Rey, but then you also hear like Poe and Finn, who Finn's not Force sensitive in this script, just kind of feeling the Force and saying, "You can do it, Rey," blah blah. They fight. Kylo still kind of bests her, so I don't really understand what the point.
For a third time?
For a second time, he blinds her, and then this one he bests her, and then he starts sucking her life force. That's when Leia does kind of the same thing as far as saying like, "Come home," everything like that. Very similar to Rise of Skywalker, just more dialogue because she was live. The whole time Rey is saying like, "Ben, like, don't do this," blah blah blah. She's holding out her hand, and also in Rey's story, she's the whole time convinced that he can still turn good, which is like, do you think that's warranted? Because I felt like the end of Last Jedi was them closing the door off that. When she closed the door on them, I thought that was her giving up on him.
Well, I think it was. I never took it as her giving up on him. I took it as her cutting off this connection with him,
which didn't get cut off because they still have it. Yeah,
I still have it. This whole parallel though of, you know, Luke kind of like trying to keep the balance, and you have Rey fighting and Kylo Ren fighting on Mortis is just, I love that idea. I think it's a perfect reflection of the Mortis episodes in the Clone Wars, how you have the son and the daughter and the father balancing them out.
So what I want to say is, because when we did Clone Wars, I said they would never do this in the movies, and this is the way too. When I hear Mortis, I still don't know if it's something that could go in the movies because it's so wacky in the script, and then from what I've heard, this is the way that actually I would be fine with Mortis being used, because I had to eat crow and be like, oh, someone was going to use Mortis, but they're not doing like the Force dragons and the
Force dragons.
No, like Mortis has like a lot more weirder stuff, and I thought if you got Mortis, you would get like the he and the she, or the son, the daughter, which I think, like you said, there's a good parallel of him being the father and like this back and forth. But I thought when people were talking about Morris is going to be involved, I didn't think they'd be bringing in this dagger and these dragons and like all this stuff. So I think this was, if this was a real thing that was going to happen, this was using Mortis right, where it's inside baseball for the fans, but it's also just like a Force sense of sort of planet or something.
And that's why I think, you know, if Luke grabbing a lightsaber makes sense, he could do that because it's so heavy on the Force.
Yeah,
like
true.
Kirklin's like, you know, Force ghost power on Ashito.
That's true. So while he's taking this life force from Rey, apparently he's healing himself. Very similar to Skywalker gets healed, so the armor's like coming off, his scars get healed. And then so he hears Leia, he starts to turn good, and she says something about, I think she says something in the way of comparing, because remember I told you about how with Vader he says, oh, his weakness was love. It's some line or some variation of, no, love makes you stronger, and he feels that, and he feels stronger. So then what he does, which is just all right, what he does is he takes all the life essence he took from Rey and then his own essence and puts it into Rey.
Oh, wow.
The same fucking exact shitty ending we got in Rise of Skywalker. But there's another chapter to this, but what do you think about... Well, I don't know what you think about that, because I think you're in the same camp. That's same thing.
There's a lot of Force sucking going on in this movie.
So you're in the camp of me, like, they shouldn't have killed him off in 9, right? So I'm not going to say that because we already think that's a bad idea. What do you think about him? Because to me, so I'm trying to phrase it. He's the main villain of the story, and then at the end of the day, nothing really happens because I guess they defeat him. But with
Well, you
him,
said Palpatine was in this, right?
no, he's just the Holocron.
Oh,
That's
he's
it.
just
He's
the
just that
hologram.
one
Oh,
scene, so it would have been a cameo. Yeah. So my whole thing is like, so he is the main villain, and then the movie just ends with him deciding to turn good, and then he just dies, and that's it. I feel like that's even more unsatisfying than when he turned good in 9 and dying, because he's the main villain, so there's not a big comeuppance. It's like the whole movie, it's like about stopping Kylo Ren, and then what happens is he like commits suicide pretty much, and it's like, all right, so that's where the episode, not like Rise of Skywalker, if we're going to get a good guy route, I prefer that. I just don't know why. If it was, I get it. George is always like, these stories are about redemption. They're about redemption, and you got to make sure the bad guy, it's life lessons, you know? But like, I just hate that. How come every version of this fucking script ends with Ben, so like him turning good, you know, in like such a weird way? So what do you think about, obviously we're talking about episode 9 stuff, but what do you think about this whole him dying, main villain, life essence sort of stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the life essence and all that, I think it's great. I love all this, what you said so far. I just think
Similar
him...
to 9 in a way.
Similar to
right?
9, yeah. I just think him dying is pointless, and in this context, it
Especially
doesn't
because
make
like,
sense.
with Rise of Skywalker, it's like, oh, well, we took down Palpatine, or this you could have been like, oh, we took down Toro or Snoke. This is just like, you didn't like, I just don't buy him in this script turning bad or turning good, because I still think in Rise of Skywalker they do it poorly. In the first half, he's so evil, and then he's good very quickly. I think how they do it is good, but the execution, like how the actual scenes are good, but the execution was far rushed. This feels even more so rushed. If he's the villain the entire movie, and then the last 5 minutes he's like, all right, Ray, like
I'm envisioning it would be very like climactic. Maybe they would build up a thing like Darth Vader kind of second guessing himself and turning.
It's exactly like that. Oh yeah, it'd be him hearing all these voices, but that's just Rise of Skywalker is already like Vader. This is almost exactly like Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And then so what happens is apparently he gets like all like disheveled and he looks really sickly and whatnot. He falls into her arms, so there is no kiss, which I still think they could have fucking added, and I could have liked this ending a bit better. So that's where it's tough for me, because I for sure would have still wanted him just to stay bad this whole series. But then I love the Reylo stuff. I love relationships that are this toxic, like will they, won't they, like they're enemies, and seeing them work together. So the kiss and that stuff really got me in episode 9, so it's hard to dispel that. But apparently he falls in her arms and they give each other like these loving looks, so that's implied. But then, have you heard what happens after this?
No.
So he's dying in her arms, and he says, let me find it here.
I put a Force baby in you or something like that?
No, this would be I hope in 10 we get that, but this would be even less so. Well, I guess it could be. It's still Force essence again. He turns, gives her all those powers, becomes forceless, and then they fall into each other's arms, look of love and whatnot, and he says, Solana. And she says, what? And he says, that's your name, Ray Solana.
Ray Solana.
Yeah, it sounds a little like Ray Salami. But yeah, so that's how it, and then he dies.
What's Solana?
That's her last name.
No, I know, but have you Googled like what lineage it is?
It's just that was her name. That was because remember how she was so obsessed with who am I, who are my parents? That was her parents' name. So her name was Ray Solana. Yeah.
Interesting.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't mind in the movie that she was a Palpatine, but I do feel it was kind of rushed. I don't mind again that she's a Skywalker, even though I don't feel like she's like really, really a Skywalker. But
yeah, I feel like you and me are on the same. Like, I would have been fine if she's nobody, but I'm also fine with her being somebody, because some people are really like, she needs to be someone's daughter, and then other people are like, she needs to be nobody. I'm like in the middle where I see both sides. Like, I get it because she's so powerful, but then I get the idea of the story of her being nobody is kind of fun and something unique. So we'll talk about a bit more about Kylo Ren, I'm sure, but what do you feel about Kylo Ren's story overall? So that was his story in Colin's movie.
I mean, compared to everything like that's gone on, it's just a little bit it's weird. I don't feel like he fully embraced himself as supreme leader. You know, he kind of just opted off, and
he
Chancellor
does. Like,
Hux is doing stuff.
He only comes back to the base a few times. There is Knights of Ren, which we'll get into, and they actually are fleshed a bit more, but he is not really running stuff there. So
yeah, I don't know how I feel really about it.
So here you go. This is like, because you just heard it, and you know what, this is just for fun. What version do you like better? Do you like this version, or do you like the Rise of Skywalker version, just for Kylo's story?
It's hard because, I mean, just for Kylo's story, visually, I mean, I like what I saw in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
but
of course. That's why we're just having fun here.
I am intrigued by this other version because
you just want the Toro stuff.
Well, I think it'd be very cool to see him interact with a 7,000-year-old Sith teacher. And then I also think all of the action sequences we would get with him. And I'm assuming all of this kind of like him being on the dark side and investing in it and becoming more powerful would lead up to a very climactic ending and turning for him.
Yeah.
So I think they could probably nail it, hopefully really well. Yeah, it's hard. Plus, I'd love to see the flashback and him in all those scenes in like Vader's temple and stuff.
Yeah, that I think for me, I like the story, even though I don't love the exactly story for him and Rise of Skywalker. I like his story better, Rise of Skywalker, but I like the kind of canon elements here of like Mortis, not more so much, but like Toro and Mustafar, and like really leveling them out. So that's the way I go. Is the canon stuff I think is a bit better on that side for Colin, but then the story stuff I'm with that because I don't like him turning good in general, but this just feels exactly like Vader and very rushed. And if there's no bigger batch, just like he just commits suicide and the movie's just over, and it's like you can say we did it. I guess we kind of did, but it's like no, not really.
Is there no epic space battle or anything? I know they stole a Star Destroyer.
All that stuff is we can get in that. All that stuff is like I don't have too many points, but there's lots of the ending of. Do you have anything more on Sarah Callow's story there?
No.
The ending of like Poe and Finn stuff is very similar to Return of the Jedi, where there's like a ground crew and then there's a sky crew, and it's very similar that Leia goes to Lando and she asks for help with smugglers this time, and he first turns her down, but then they come in and make the save and everything like that. So it sounds like that for beat is pretty similar to that. Finn, and we'll go to the beginning now. The movie opens with them on a mission, so it's Finn, Rose, Poe, and Rey. So they're all together. Rose apparently. Multiple podcasters have said this, so that's kind of shitty. They said they hope that she never read this script or reads it because it's just so much better for her because she's in this quite a bit. Like there's one moment where they kidnap her and she finds a way to hack their computer, so they're going to this point to take out the resistance, and she fucked with their radar.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, she fucked with the radar, so like the resistance get the upper hand because they're in a different situation. So Rose was in this a lot more. Rose and Finn were a couple. Their chemistry was going on, and there was like. When they go back to Coruscant, because you've heard this and maybe some other people, it's really run down. It's really taken over by the First Order. And they go to this Jedi temple, which that sounds really cool. Some people have said it sounds very fan servicey, but like Rise of Skywalker was that way too. And I like some of the prequel areas. So, but when they go there, there's like tons of like, not the same as Canto Bright, but it's like the opposite where that was a rich place. This was like, there's so many scummy or so many very poor, unhealthy, no money people looking at them being like, oh, who are these, like even not rich people, but just like normal people in this district. So apparently there's lots of fun banter with R2D2 and 3PO. He like kills a Sith droid accidentally by trying to get programming. But so they're on a mission and they have to steal some Star Destroyer to like get undercover or something like that. Rey apparently is incognito as a Tusken Raider at the beginning of the movie. So this is all going on. Apparently they do split up, like I said, like Poe takes the sky, Finn and Rose are more ground, and then Rey goes that way. Apparently the Poe, and we'll get into Rey now, the Rey and Poe dynamic is a bit different where apparently they do kiss in this, but I've heard mixed things. I've heard one person say that the way and that's how a script is. That's why when people say this would be better, we don't know. And that's why when I asked Taylor it's better, we're just having some fun here. Because the one I heard read it was the way of, it was like, in Winter Soldier, how Black Widow and Captain America kiss, where it's like they have to pose as a couple, and it's something they do, and maybe there's romantic feelings, but both sides have kind of said it feels more like Poe has romantic feelings and Rey is uneasy about it, because obviously you got the Kylo stuff, and you got maybe just she doesn't know about relationship. But then I've also read that there's this part where she goes to fight Ren at some point, and she forced mind tricks him to leave her so she can do it alone, but she leaves him with a kiss or something like that, which feels a little romantic. So that to me, like I said, is a little muddied. I've kind of seen different version read different way, but the way it is kind of like, yeah, they are maybe not a couple, but have some sort of chemistry, but nothing is really. You know.
I was gonna say Rey Poe, but that doesn't work very well. Rey Poe is a little politically incorrect.
Go Roy. Or Ro. Poe.
Yeah. Ro,
but no, you gotta.
I'd be down for some of that. I like that.
I cannot accept Rey with anybody after we got the Rey kiss. I wish I didn't fucking kill Ben Solo anyway. But yeah, so Rey in this, apparently lots of her stuff is when she's on these missions, someone refers to her as a Jedi, and she's having lots of conversations with Finn and Luke that she doesn't feel like she can match that, and lots of talking about the light and the dark. She is a nobody. She stays nobody. Nothing happens there. There's training with that. She has some conversation with Leia about how she doesn't feel, or she feels she can bring Ben to the backside. Leia, the backside, the good side. Leia doesn't feel that's the case. And Rey's story is just kind of, it feels very similar as far as she's just going up to power. She's struggling with the light or dark, and she's, she finds about Kylo Ren and stuff like that. Apparently at one point they see some like Force cipher or seer that gets them to Mortis or something like that. So I thought there was one.
I heard that Chewbacca was flying an X-Wing.
He does fight. Yeah, he does fly an X-wing.
Dylan would have fucking hated that.
Oh yeah, unless he blew up, that would have been good. And then so apparently the Knights of Ren, while Kylo was doing his stuff, they are in this ship called Knife 9, and they are hunting them down. And in a battle at one point in the middle of the movie, Rey kills, I don't know if all of them or most of them, but kills a lot of them in mid-fight, but then also shoots lightning out of her fingers.
Oh, that would have been cool.
So similar to Episode 9, but it's different because it's not a connection to Palpatine. And then after that, it's the same thing with Finn. She's worried about, do Jedi kill and blah, blah, blah. So... And then I think...
Do Jedi kill?
Well...
Not a thing you should be asking if you're a Jedi and you've killed some people.
No, I shouldn't phrase it like that. It's kind of like she's like, I can't do that. I'm a Jedi. And Finn's kind of like, oh, Jedi can do that. It's fine. Like that's the
Yikes.
way, that's the way it kind of is.
Finn would have been perfect for Anakin. Don't worry, Anakin. Go ahead and kill these people.
Oh, yeah. He just would have been like the Clone Wars. I did forget to mention in the last fight, Rey does beat Kylo at one point because she cuts off his fingers and his lightsaber.
Ooh.
So yeah, and that's when he starts sucking the life out of her. And she goes to, I think that's how she gets the upper hand. It's like the Ben and Leia Rey scene where the reason he starts sucking life out of her, she cuts his fingers and she goes to kill him, but she can't. And then he does the like life suck thing. Yeah, I think that's about it. And then there's one big thing here. So after she's blinded, she gets healed by Kylo. Her eyes are all good, everything like that. And then she goes into like a Harry Potter-like scene where... Because then I had heard a version of the script where they had come in and tried to help them fight Ben Solo, but that seems like that's not the case, or wrong. He first said that, but maybe it's mistaken now. It sounds like... So after the fight with Kylo, she's like on death's door, and she has like a Harry Potter-like scene where she sees Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Luke as Force ghosts, and they talk about, how it's connected and everything like that. Yoda says that we have been learning from you, Rey, because that's her whole journey in this movie is almost like people were talking about with the Grey Jedi, is she, and Yoda even says this to her about, and this is how I think, one thing you might not like, Colin, because I feel like he views the Force a little bit like me. They say, because at one point in the script, Rey is talking to Luke about balance, and Leia and her are talking as well. And they just say, Rey goes to Leia, there's all these rules. And Leia goes, well, those are rules that were made thousands of years ago by old men. Why should follow those? And then Luke says, at one point, Rey says, I'm mad about this. I'm angry. And she's like, I understand the anger. I had it. My father had that. And she's like, what is the point of these lessons? Because these teachers just keep handing them down, and it's kind of the same result, right? Like someone fails and there's a circle. So Yoda says, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, that maybe the balance of the Force is not having someone light and dark. It's having the balance within yourself and stuff like that. So I subscribe a bit more to that because I don't think you need to have a fucking Sith. That seems like a terrible rule. But that is the idea of she is the ultimate balance of the Force because she's having light and dark, kind of like Luke in Return of the Jedi. And then they also give this ultimatum about talking about Force heaven as far as you can stay here and it's peaceful and all this stuff and be one with the Force, or you can go back to life. They say there's nothing there but trauma there and tragedy and sadness, but then they say also love and like hopefulness and stuff like that. But they still made it sound pretty dreary, like you don't want to go that route. Apparently they cut. You don't know for like the last 15 minutes if she survived what she chose, but then the movie ends with her training a bunch of Jedis, because even Finn and Poe, they don't know where she is. Someone just asks, like, Finn feels something that she's alive, but he doesn't know, and someone asks, like, where is she? It's kind of like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Dark Knight Rises, like, oh, the bat's still out there. Like, it's something like that. Like, she's still out there, and the movie cuts to, it ends with her training a bunch of young Jedi, and apparently Broom Kid's there as well.
Broom Kid.
Yeah, so what do you think about Rey's journey? It's a lot of her talking with Luke and Leia, struggling with light and dark. She kind of encompasses it. She survives. She chooses to stay with life, and she's training a new Jedi Order.
Yeah, I like the idea. I like that explanation of, the balance inside herself.
Oh, do you, eh?
Yeah, because that's not like, there's only good and no evil, and that's balance there. It's kind of just, the balance inside yourself of good and evil and the in-between. And it's kind of like what Luke touched upon with her. Like, she was feeling out to the negative in life and to the good in life on Ashito, and she was feeling the Force, that balance in between. So I like that concept a lot, actually, and I really enjoy the idea of her. It depends on the context of what scenario it's in, where she's getting to choose to whether like leave and join the Force or stay, in the galaxy. But I'm assuming if she stays in the galaxy and then dies in her old age, then she could go to the Force. So it's just
it's a weird bargain, but I guess it's kind of like you could join right now, and because like she's always had like this kind of loner lifestyle, and like Kylo just died, so if they are trying to play up, there's still some sort of love connection. Maybe it's supposed to be like she's very like she doesn't know what the future is going to bring her, so it's kind of like you could have an easy out, right? And I think that's like a lesson almost by the Jedi, right? Of you could just easily come with us, or you could go out there and live this life that's going to be really painful at times, but you could achieve something. So
yeah, no, I like the idea of her training a new order of Jedi, and I really wish we got that in this this episode.
I didn't need Broom Kid because like there's
so
many
throw him in there.
And I don't mean I don't hurt anyone's feelings, but there's so many people even on our reviews they'd be like, but they never touched on Broom Kid. Broom Kid's fine being in there. I'm not saying that, but like I never felt that episode 9 I had a problem with because they didn't mention Broom Kid. Broom Kid was just supposed to be the Force is spreading around. But I do like because I feel like Disney is trying to make Rey the new Luke, not in the sense of calm down. People like, oh, I hate Rey, SJW, not that. Just in the sense of, hey, Mark Hamill's 60 years old. We can't tell that story of what happened after. Let's say Disney, for some reason, we're in a weird different time zone, but they got the rights to Star Wars right away, and Mark Hamill was only like 45, 50. You could tell that story of right after Return of the Jedi, or even younger than that of him training all these Jedis. You can't tell that story now. He's older. There's old age, or there's de-aging now, so it's a bit different, but still, that direct story, you can't do that. So that's why, for me, she's kind of the proxy of if we ever get a follow-up or episode 10, she's kind of what we would imagine Luke would have been doing, right? Like, even now, I still think we'll get Rey training the Jedi one day. I did forget to mention that. Shout out to Travis. She had a cross-bladed in this script.
Double-bladed,
yeah, which we're going to do our episode 9 predictions results, because I did call that a long time ago. That'd be yellow and bladed. So I'm not sure if that was still a JJ idea or if he took that from this as well, but she had that. That made sense. So I'm trying to think if there was anything else. So yeah, she finds out her name's Rey Solana, and then I like her story. I do. There's some issues I have with it. It sounds like there's a lot of her running place to place, but I like her struggling with the light and dark. I think I like the idea of her and Luke Skywalker having a bunch more dialogue and scenes together. So I think I like her story for the most part. I think for me, most people, and I can't say if it would have been better than Rise of Skywalker because I think her acting is the best. I think for most people that would love this is the people that if they want her to stay nobody, she stays that, right? Where for me, that was not a thing I was passionate about. The thing I was passionate was about, hey, let's not just turn Ben Solo good and kill him. And guess what? JG just spat in my fucking face.
Yeah.
So, and Colin would have spat in my face too.
They both did.
They just spat all over me.
Standing over you.
I'm covered in saliva. Anything on Rey? There might be more that comes up, but anything specifically on that story beat?
No, I really like her story and that actually quite enjoy it.
And I don't know if I needed the Rey and Poe stuff. I'll just say that. Just a little fun thing for Finn. Like I said, he was still with Rose. That was all happening. But then he also, he ran in at one point in the movie with a bunch of stormtroopers that were feeling kind of unsure about their job, and they kind of recognized that was him, and he told a story. And apparently he like leads this like road squadron of stormtroopers that
would
rebel.
Be sick.
Yeah, and he apparently has like this whole army that he brings with him. So kind of like, and apparently there's like when they go to this Jedi Council, so similar to Order 66, there's like this beacon, and when they press it, there's like a kind of the Call of Gondor thing, and it all lights up. Apparently, they even go to Bosk, and he's like in his like house, but he's just like super rich now, and he has all this stuff. Yeah, he's
Pimp
like
Bosk.
Yeah, he's like living the high life. So they go to like all these planets and places, and they all answer the call with Lando. But that's where he's like leading an army. That I like a lot better because I hate the story beat. I didn't even mention it on a review because I kind of forgot about it. But I hate how he meets Jonna, and he's like, what's your story? Oh, one day we couldn't do it anymore, so we rebelled, and that's it. They could have set up so easily if we heard what you did, Finn. We heard that you did not want to be a stormtrooper, and we followed after you. You inspired us. No, it just happened he bumped into somebody that did the exact same thing as him. Like, it was so easy to make him like this symbol, and I think that would have made his story a lot better. So he doesn't have the Force in here, which I did like in Rise of Skywalker, but I would still prefer this one of like, I like the idea of these stormtroopers looking at him as like this idol, and then they turn against him, and I just think that'd be great because they would like, they'd have all this inside detail, and they could really... that, to me, is a plausible way of taking down the First Order, of having a bunch of people on the inside turning. So I actually like Finn's story on paper better than what we got in Rise of Skywalker, even though I liked it. So Obviously, what do you feel? Because you were getting going talking about that stormtrooper.
Yeah, well, I love Finn and Rise of Skywalker. I think it was really, really awesome, his story, and they could have added a little bit more into that dynamic of him and Janna.
Yeah.
But overall, this just sounds awesome. I love the idea of him because I love my clone troopers, and him just kind of like rallying up a bunch of stormtroopers and going to war.
Too.
It does. It makes perfect sense. You know, all these kids taken when they were young and programmed to be, stormtroopers. It just sounds so bloody awesome. I would have loved to have seen that dynamic and him leading this rebellion. It would have fleshed out his character even more at the cost of him not being force sensitive. I like him being force sensitive over this.
You could add it, really. See, I like this. You could have, the thing is with the force sensitive stuff, you could add that in the future at any point. This stuff you can't because you only get one chance with the force, right? And even in this script, they say that Finn senses that Rey is fine at the end of the movie, so you can even spin it that way that he still is force sensitive as well, right? It might have been not as overt as Rise of Skywalker, but I still think there's potential seeds that you could be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then I talked about Knights of Ren. They were in this a lot more, just more not as characters, but just more hunters. They were feared and not so much just in the background. Having one scene with Kylo Ren as a fight. I think this is I got one last juicy thing for Ken. I'm just trying to see, but so Hux. So apparently there's a running joke or a gag in the movie where Chancellor Hux is obsessed with the Force, and he's trying to find a way to learn the Force and everything this. So he's trying to compete with Kylo Ren, and probably maybe wants to take him down, things like that. So the other thing that he's taken up is he's been looking into kind of similar to Kylo Ren in Jedi or in Force Awakens. He's looking into Jedi and Sith artifacts, and he's collecting them. And apparently he collects a lightsaber. And at one point, I think he's showing it off or something. He ignites it. Or maybe he doesn't. I don't know. So I'll take that part. But so the First Order is falling around him at the end of the movie. They're all going to crap. And it's almost like who's that guy in Pirates of the Caribbean when it's all over? He just, in World's End, he realizes it's done.
Cutler Beckett?
Yeah, Beckett, and he just walks on the ship. So he kind of has this moment where he realizes they're losing. There's no hope. So he takes his lightsaber and he sabbukus himself. You know what that is?
Oh, yeah.
So he does that, and when he turns it on, it's a purple lightsaber.
Oh, no way.
That's Mace Windu's lightsaber. So what do you think about that?
That would have been pretty spicy. I mean, if it was the handle, the same hilt with the gold trims on it, that would have been super cool. I think that would have riled up a lot of fans.
100%. What do you feel about him having this obsession with the Force and being kind of this collector of things in this role? Because I personally, I liked the spy twist, but again, I would have preferred this as far as I like that actor. So I would have liked him being more evil, and I don't know, I'd have to see on screen the idea of, because it's been described as a running gag. I have in my mind of Domhnall Gleeson trying to force push and it being nothing. That I think could be a lame joke.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, see, you would like that, but for me, I'd have to see that on screen to see if it would work. But the other stuff sounds good. So how do you feel about he's a bit more Force Awakens evilish? He's an artifact collector and he's obsessed with the Force now.
So, to me personally, I love Star Wars collectors in the universe. Now I fucking love it.
That would be you if you were.
That would be me. I'd be collecting artifacts, and one of my favorite things in Solo is Dryden Voss's collection room with the Sith holocron, the lightsabers, and everything. I love that stuff. And even then, Palpatine's got his own private collection of
and
stuff.
And Kylo Ren did too, right? Because
he did too.
And that's
yeah.
how Kylo Ren, JJ described him in the press for Force Awakens that he was a fanboy and he was always trying to find these artifacts. Obviously, he had Vader's helmet. We saw in Rise of Skywalker he had some other things that we didn't know. So I'm with you. I love same thing. That's why I love the Bat Cave. Batman has all this shit he has a giant coin. It's just why is he keeping this? He doesn't need this, but it's my trophies. It's all right, you sick fuck.
Yeah, no, I'm a sucker for that. That's again why I get the visual dictionaries because I love reading up all the artifacts. Like Last Jedi, Luke had all these artifacts in his little hut. It's just juicy stuff. So to know Hux had Mace Windu's lightsaber and all these Sith little trinkets and stuff like that just sounds so good. And sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, what do you think a character? Because obviously it's 3 different directors, so it always changes. But just put in the shoes. Rise of Skywalker doesn't exist. We have episodes 7 and 8. Why do you think Hux would all of a sudden? No, all of a sudden there could have been some time past, but why do you think he would have took on collecting things? Because that wasn't introduced in other movies, right? So.
He probably wasn't really able to with Snoke around, because with Snoke around, he's kind of keeping him as what was his rank? General Hux. So if Snoke's gone and Kylo Ren is popping off doing his own thing, he could retreat to be his own chancellor and governor of whatever he wants, just self-proclaimed title. And I like the idea of him being more evil and just being obsessed with Force stuff. Because he could probably take on Kylo Ren,
or
and
he
he
at least
probably never.
wanted to
He wanted to. He
get
knew
rid
he
of
could
him.
never take on Snoke, but Kylo Ren he could probably do in. So, if he learned the Force, but that's impossible for him. So. Yeah, no, it's interesting, but I do enjoy that kind of storyline over the spy thing and him just getting killed by
so quickly. Yeah. And then the other thing we didn't talk about, but obviously you're a big fan of them going back to Coruscant and Mustafar. I like all that prequel plan stuff.
God, I would have loved it.
Mustafar, I know we went to. We didn't go there long enough. I know we've never talked about that, but this whole JJ cut, which is
release the JJ cut.
Probably not real. Calm down. But at least this one has potential more sourcing than a Reddit post. But they were on Mustafar in the opening, and apparently there's some people saying like there was a longer cut of that, which would have been great to see. But one, I've told Taylor, Mustafar was my number one. I wanted to go back, so I would have liked more time there. But I think Coruscant, even a rundown Coruscant, that would have been so good to see. And I really wish we went to Coruscant, because to me that's the thing where even if Disney was worried about people think, oh, the prequels like that, they turn people off. The mainstream probably wouldn't put they'd say Coruscant, and eventually they'd be like, oh, that was that planet in that movie. Like, they wouldn't care. Like, most of the stuff sounds pretty inside baseball for us. So I think it was handled the right way as far as stuff I've seen potentially in this. So
yeah, Mustafar, I love that planet. I loved it in Rogue One, and I wish that we got Vader's castle in Rise of Skywalker just broken down and remains, but I love that they would have had it in this version of it as well. And Coruscant, that's absolutely like a no-brainer. I'd want to see run down Coruscant
and
with
seeing
Slimos.
Kylo Ren on Coruscant too, because we've talked about. I didn't get that, but I always thought a good idea was putting him on Tatooine because of the history. Coruscant's the same thing. Like, that's where all those younglings got killed. That's technically, was that where Luke and they were born on Coruscant? Then they moved.
No, they were born on Polis Massa.
Okay. So, but even then, like, Padme was pregnant with like her, his like mom and uncle and stuff like that. So there's still history there too, and I think just the scenery of that, and that's the one fun thing about like games like Battlefront 2, where you get to see prequel characters in different locations, OG characters, vice versa. So I think that would have been lots of fun to return to some of those plans. So I think that's a missed opportunity there.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's probably like for a Jedi to go on Coruscant would be nuts, because that's where like thousands of Jedi were massacred.
100%,
that would have some serious feels for any Jedi patrolling the streets there. So, and you said that Rey was there as a Tusken Raider?
No, I think that was earlier when they were stealing. Apparently, they go to that planet.
Kuat.
Yeah, the planet in Jedi Fallen Order where they're building. No. I think we're talking about different things. The planet in Jedi Fallen Order with Cal where they build all the Death Stars. You know that planet though in Jedi
Fallen Order at the beginning when they're disassembling.
Yeah. So apparently,
I read that it was the Kuat shipyards.
Oh yeah, maybe it is.
Because the Kuat shipyards. Is that
where Cal is?
No, that's a different planet.
Then I was misinformed because someone said that it was the same planet. As
no, I don't think so. Unless they didn't say what the planet was. No, I'll have to look into that. Kuat Shipyards is like an older, like canon planet from Star Wars where they would like pump out Star Destroyers and all these cool like ships.
Apparently that's where they were, and that's where I guess she was as a Tusken Raider. So maybe same thing as Jaw was. They're not just exclusive to Tatooine. So
Google this.
Has to
I gotta look into it.
So yeah, I have no. Well, he's looking into it. I'll answer the hyperbolic question and say, this could have been better? Sure, but like I said, there's lots of film stuff that happens. There's lots of script changes. Leia was in this a lot, talking with characters like Poe and Rey and even Kylo. That would have all changed because she passed away. But this does sound a bit more cohesive. There's some stuff that I'm not a big fan of at all. Like I said, Kylo and his redemption again, Kylo and his face, stuff like that. There's certain other beats, but there's certain beats like I talked about with Luke, like catching lights there. But there's beats like Luke haunting him. So that's where I wish, even with Rise of Skywalker, there was maybe like a mix of these. And even then, it sounds like lots of elements from this were taken. So I do actually really like some of the stuff in here. Again, you'd have to see it to film. We never will, but I can say that I do think some of this feels a bit more cohesive and a bit more better. And just for the sake of, at the end of the day, I really do love Palpatine. He's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. But we have Clone Wars, some of the OG children in the prequels. I liked having him back, but the way he was brought back and how much we've got of him, we didn't get exactly what I wanted and what I felt was necessary. I remember when we saw that trailer, that got us so excited when Palpatine called them my boy. but they didn't really have much conversation after that. They didn't talk about things. So if they really had some juicy like talking, like Palpatine views him as like a grandson like figure, that would have been great. But Palpatine was just kind of an evil guy, right? That was just there to set up Rey. So that's why I do prefer this a bit more, just because I don't think we needed Palpatine, and I don't like the whole Kylo Ren's the main villain, then he just like just dies at the end. So there's problems with it too. I don't think this is like, oh my god, we really missed out, this could have been the greatest. No, I think there's elements, same thing as Rise of Skywalker, that really work, and there's some that really, really don't work. And same thing in this movie. If this was filmed, maybe it would have been the exact same thing on film. It would not have worked. Like I said, if some of that dialogue stayed, to me it felt very wooden and cheesy. So you got any? Are you still looking for your planet?
The planet in Fallen Order is called Braca.
Yeah.
But
so I guess something is similar, which I hate that they do in Star Wars. It's like, look, another sand planet. Look, another this planet.
Well, Braca was definitely made, I think, after the fact, because Kuat is definitely an old planet, and I know that because it's in one of my Star Wars games. It's a planet I always take over to pump out Star Destroyers.
Wow, take over.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said Kuat, because like it's a pretty canon like planet. Oh, Tor Valon.
So what do you think about just on the whole? How did you feel about? Obviously, I just threw a lot at you of the potential first draft. What do you think about all of that and on the whole?
You know what It comes down to me. I think they could have taken that movie and done a two-parter. They could have done, this was Duel of Fates, and then part 2, Rise of Skywalker.
You wouldn't have got that. It would have been one or the other.
Well, I know. I wish though that we got 2 parts, because if you combine this with Rise of Skywalker, I think you have a pretty solid movie that could have blended very well together. I think you add in.
Been messy too.
It could have been messy. You add in like you could have Palpatine come back as the main bad guy and plant seeds in it in the Duel of Fates, and have Tor
Valon. Or just
Valon.
use Toro as the main bad guy.
Or use just him,
use him. I know it's almost like another Snoke Emperor type of person, but again, I'll ask you the hyperbolic question. Do you lean any towards, you've seen a movie and you've just seen like bullet points and major plot points of a script, so that's why you're not comparable, but do you lean anyway or whatnot, just for the fun of it?
Just for the fun of it, I lean towards this new script. Yeah. That being said, I love JJ's movie, and I do love what he did. I've seen it 3 times, and it's gotten better every single time I've seen it.
Your favorite of the trilogy too. You would take that away.
It's my favorite of the trilogy. Wow. Yeah, I'd be.
Is it really your favorite if you would erase it from history?
If I erased it from history and I had to, watch this new one, I feel like this new one could be great. But then I have Force Awakens to fall back on. But then again, I got my Rogue One, which is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time, so I'm safe.
Anything else to add on this, Taylor?
No, it just sucks. We're never going to see this movie ever exist.
Well, it sucks for some people. If you have no problems with Rise of Skywalker, it doesn't suck, And if you wanted Rey to be powerful, Palpatine, or connected, it doesn't suck. So I think it just talks to Star Wars fandom of, it depends where you are, right? It depends what you want, what you do. It's the same way lots of people that love Last Jedi hate Rise of Skywalker and vice versa. It's just because you're a different fan. So I'm very much in the middle. I'm just hoping that we get something great next, whatever it is. So
hopefully some Coruscant in the prequel trilogy coming out.
It's not the same. Well, I guess no, it's not the same. I want to see
the High Republic.
Yeah, Taylor, where can they find us?
You can find us at Internet Connection, ladies and gentlemen. Geek for Space podcast anywhere on the web. Especially check out Spreaker.com.
Especially shouting it already.
Oh yeah.
All the descriptions are down below for the video and audio. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to be doing Clone Wars Season 7 soon, and then also that we're going to be recording lots of Cantinas because we've been busy, but we got lots of stuff still to talk about. We got to talk about the High Republic. We're going to wait for that Kylo Ren comic to finish and do a whole retrospective on his Star Wars career. So until next time, it won't be boring, and may the Force be with you.
Always.